When you look at families that have genuine child abuse, you see the darkness in the lives of the people where this is happening. You see the dysfunction. When I spend times with Christians whose families are richly engaged in Christianity and the Christian worldview, I don't see any darkness. I see light.
Want to hit him with that Lovecraft, a beefy one?
Oh, yes. But I was going to say baby potatoes are Kartoffelchen.
Kartoffel, right.
Did I say that right?
Yeah, Kartoffel.
Kartoffel.
This says Kartoffelchen. Kartoffelchen or something.
Those are
Maybe
baby
that's plural. Or
potatoes.
something.
Small potatoes.
Kartoffelkins.
So you were saying Hitler is Kartoffel.
Kartoffel, yeah, small. Well, that's right. Kartoffelkin would be small potato, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't speak German,
It's
but
like
I do know the
his kin
Kartoffel because you got to order fries if you go to Berlin. You know, sooner or later you can eat fries, so you better order Kartoffels.
Kartoffels.
All right. So one of my favorite authors, H.P. Lovecraft. If religion were true, its followers would not try to bludgeon their youth into an artificial conformity, but would merely insist on their unbending quest for truth, irrespective of artificial backgrounds or practical consequences. With such an honest and inflexible openness to evidence, they could not fail to receive any real truth which might be manifesting itself around them. The fact that religionists do not follow this honorable course, but cheat at their game by invoking juvenile quasi-hypnosis, is enough to destroy their pretensions in my eyes, even if their absurdity were not manifest in every other direction.
All right, so this is one of those gauntlets again. There's a whole bunch of things. I started taking some notes. I thought I can't even keep up with it.
It was very Lovecraftian.
Notice that he thinks that religious education is an act of bludgeoning. But if you educate your own children as atheists, which I presume he does with his children, or maybe not. I mean, maybe he has a thing. I'm not making any case for anything else. I want my kids to follow the truth.
In the name of open-mindedness, we're going to read some Bible right now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Family devotions today. Once a week, just on Sunday morning, what the heck, just so we can have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. We'll give the Christians their due. But just the way it's characterized, it's not an accurate characterization of the way religious education is done. Although, obviously, he's made this comment, and lots of atheists talk about it this way too. Richard Dawkins talks about it as child abuse, for example. But when you look at the families that have this kind of education, let me back up. When you look at families that have genuine child abuse, you see the darkness in the lives of the people where this is happening. You see the dysfunction. When I spend times with Christians whose families are richly engaged in Christianity and the Christian worldview, I don't see any darkness. I see light. Now, there are groups that claim to be Christian that are, I think, maybe characteristic of this, and that would be LDS and say Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe I should back up and say not characteristic, but I see characteristics like this in those families. And I do think there are Christian families that are really abusive in the way they treat things, but that's because they're not practicing the kind of Christianity that the New Testament promotes, because there's a lot that's said about how you deal with family, how you pass things on. And none of these quotes amount to bludgeoning, okay? For myself and many people that I know in the business that I'm in, apologetics, making a defense, making the case for Christianity, it is our attitude that people, you read whatever you want. Let's talk about it. LDS won't let you read whatever you want. You can't read anti-LDS books. As far as I'm concerned, my kids can read anti-Christian books. Good. Let's sit down and talk about them. All right. There's no problem with that.
Also known as books.
Yeah. It's like
that's right. Regular books.
No big, it's fine because, and I remember, and I'm not telling tales out of school here because this has been described publicly. Sean McDowell is a very close friend of mine. And Sean is Josh McDowell's son. And there was a time when Sean, as a young man, told his father that he wasn't sure Christianity was true. And his dad, Josh McDowell, all right, Josh McDowell said, I am glad that you care so much about truth that you're willing to question what you've been raised in. And that's fine with me. I want you to pursue the truth. I don't want you to reject Christianity because your dad's a Christian. That would be a mistake. I want you to reject it because you don't think it's actually true. So you go out and you do your homework. And now Sean's a very good apologist, so that's the direction he ended up going in light of his own studies. But notice the attitude there. I thought it was great. Some of us could be informed better by that attitude. I understand that. As Christian parents, even myself. I've made some blunders in this area, but it's not characteristic. It isn't like people only believe the truths of Christianity because they've been bludgeoned into them. Much like the truths of leftism is being bludgeoned into people. Mm-hmm. I mean, that phrase would apply much more to leftism, because if you don't, toe the line, you get punished in all kinds of different ways, much worse than any religious person gets punished. So you get disowned, you get disinherited, you get, you're off the reservation. You get shamed publicly. You can lose your job, for goodness sake. And more of that is happening now. So I think that's a more adequate description of the behavior of leftists than it is of Christians. However, notice, though, in neither case does that behavior speak to whether or not the views in question are true or false. So you can look at bad behavior of Christians, all right, shame on us. Mm-hmm. You can look at bad behavior of leftists, shame on them. It doesn't tell you anything at all about whether the underlying worldview is accurate. Mm-hmm. That must be assessed on something different than anthropology.
All right.
H.P. Lovecraft, owned. We should have been doing that from the beginning.
Yeah.
You had to try to make as much work for Dan as possible.
He adds the muzzle
he
flash.
adds some special effects.
I'm going to skip. We have so many here. We're probably going to do them all. Let's take on Lady Gaga.
Who I think did an unbelievably magnificent job in that movie she did, Stars Born. I was mesmerized.
I didn't see it.
Okay, just confession time. I had no idea who Lady Gaga was before that movie. I recognized the name, and I thought she was famous for being famous.
Poker face.
But when I saw her do that number on the stage, she's beckoned out and she does that thing with that other actor who learned to sing for this part. I mean, it was magnificent.
Bradley
Just
Cooper.
saying. What's his name?
Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, the killer guy, the sniper guy.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sniper, yeah.
So,
Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah. Anyway, so she says,
what did Lady Gaga?
She says to Mike Pence, and I can't remember the exact context. Maybe you guys remember.
It's like a homophobic thing.
You, Mike Pence, are wrong. You are the worst representation of what it means to be a Christian. I am a Christian woman, and what I do know about Christianity is that we bear no prejudice, and everybody is welcome. So you can take all that disgrace, Mr. Pence, and you can look at yourself in the mirror, and you'll find it right there.
Is there an argument there?
So let me see. So
he's saying that his views on.
In what sense?
Everybody's welcome.
In what sense is her attack on Mike Pence not an example of the thing that she's objecting to?
About everybody being welcome.
I guess Mike Pence is not welcome.
Yeah,
by that language, that's pretty strong, right?
So she's a pensophobe.
She's a pensophobe. I mean, this happens all the time. It doesn't go to the question of his convictions. It just goes to the nature of this attack. And this happens all the time. I say that these kinds of attacks commit suicide because what they represent are perfect examples of the very thing they're complaining about. Now, she may have a legitimate complaint.
Here's the context. I found it just real quick. Earlier in the week, Pence's wife, Karen, revealed she would resume teaching at a Christian school that barred LGBTQ students and employees. So the fact that she decided to work at a Christian school that would have the gall to do that, this was her reaction.
Okay, well, my kids go to a Christian school, and when it says Christian school, it means something.
Yeah.
It means that it's taught by Christians about Christianity to Christians. And so if you're not a Christian, well, they're not going to put you in the school. There's a lot of Christian schools like that. It doesn't mean they hate non-Christians. It means that they have a particular focus, and the particular focus is to train Christians. What if Lady Gaga started a music school and she wanted to train vocalists? I guarantee you, if she had a school, she would have criteria for entry. If you can't sing, you can't be a part of what we're doing, because what we're doing is training people who can sing to become better singers. That's the point of our enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in that case, she would be discriminating against non-singers, which, so what? It's inconsistent to have that kind of person in her group given the goal of the group. And in Christian schools, not all Christian schools, but certain Christian schools have a goal of discipling Christians. The school that my daughter goes to now, that's their goal. We are building disciples. You can't build a disciple of a non-Christian.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an evangelistic school like some might be. It is rather a discipleship-oriented school. So why would it be a mistake for somebody to teach at a school that disciples Christians? Would if you had an ashram in India that was there to make Buddhist monks, would they allow a evangelical Christian to go in there and be part of that, who has no interest in Buddhism and actually thinks it's false? No, it's not the right place for them. But what she does is she shames the Christian for implicitly shaming non-Christians. So there you have the repetition of the behavior that she's condemning in the condemnation itself. This happens all the time. I call this practical suicide. It's in the tactics book. Oh, I haven't held that one up yet. Tactics.
I think you did.
You did, yeah.
No, I did Story of Reality, 10th anniversary
Check
edition.
the tape.
Check the tape. Oh, well, all right. Doggone it. Well,
You hold them both up.
There we go. Now we know. Excuse me. And this happens all the time. All right. Now, this doesn't say that Pence is right or that she's wrong in her views. All this shows is that the kind of attack that's being leveled is committing the same harm that she claims Pence is committing. Okay.
Now I believe Lady Gaga, I'm not sure what her sexuality is. It's probably most of the letters, a few of them mixed together, maybe a couple weird
4
symbols.
or 5 of the letters. Sure.
Yeah. But she said, I'm also a Christian. So are you saying can't be true? She can't be a Christian?
So this is another thing too. Christian. The word Christian means something.
Right.
It doesn't mean just anything. Okay. And she's under the opinion that that Christianity means no judgment, no requirements. It's an open field. All we do is smile and nod and say, gee, that's great. We love you, no matter what it is you're doing. Although, once again, she's not doing that towards the Pences, if that's her commitment. But that isn't what Christianity is about. The most famous passage on love in the world is 1 Corinthians 13, all right? Because this is where Paul quantifies what love actually looks like. And this verse is repeated countless times in weddings. And many people know it by heart, okay? But one of the lines in there is that Paul says, love does not rejoice in unrighteousness. So if you have a child who's a racist, would it be inconsistent with loving your child to affirm that child's racism? Who would say that? That's not loving. That's a vice in that person's life. The loving thing to do is say what you're living is a vice that is going to destroy you and destroy other people. The tough love thing to do is say that racism is wrong, okay? And that's what Paul's saying. Love does not rejoice in unrighteousness. But when the unrighteousness that is in question is a politically correct unrighteousness, even though the scripture speaks very clearly regarding sexuality and the intention that God had. God made him male and female, and one man with one woman becoming one flesh for one lifetime. That's Jesus' summary in Matthew chapter 19. When that goes against the grain, then that's not loving. All right. But I'm just pointing out, by the way, that that's Jesus' statement in Matthew 19. So Jesus did have something to say about gender and sex, and implicitly about homosexuality and all the other sexual variations. He said, no, that is not God's purpose from the beginning. So if you're going to be a Christian and a follower of Jesus, it seems to me that means you probably should hold the same views that Jesus held. And if not, then I wonder what it means when you say you're a Christian.
Oh, hello there. You must have just watched one of our videos. Thank you for doing that. I'm Ethan, and this is the Babylon Bee, obviously. And click like. Just want to remind you. Subscribe. Hit the little bell, whatever that thing does. Comment. We read them all. Check out more of our videos because we make them for people like you.